Hey guys, I'm Mo back again. Welcome to my 2 weeks review. And with the Galaxy Z Fold 5, currently recording this video in my car as I'm driving to go pick up some food. And I'm using the Galaxy Z Fold selfie camera as I'm recording this video. It is sitting in my car mount. This is the fourth mount I have tried, by the way, because the previous three car mounts I was using due to the fact that it is such a long and thin cone and extra weight as well makes it challenging. Found this one on Amazon. I think it's called Joy Mass or something. It is a wireless charger and a car mount, and it is a bit thin enough to grasp the phone on the edges. In addition to that, I guess it is thick enough to hold the Galaxy Z Fold 5 as well. So overall, pretty happy with this car mount side review. Now I'm gonna hop into some of the pros, and then I'll wrap it up by talking about the things I don't like about this phone. So just comparing the Galaxy Z Fold 5 to the Z Fold 4 last year, you're not really seeing that much of a difference. It's mostly refinements this year. So you already have the Z Fold 4. We didn't really hold off. So first thing you can notice is it is much lighter compared to last year. But just me holding the phone from my first unboxing video, lifting it in my hand for the first time, it feels significantly lighter. And I was previously using the Pixel Fold right before switching over to the Z Fold 5. And I can say for a fact that the 5 feels much lighter. It's still heavy in the grand scheme of things, but essentially kind of like two poles slapped together in the tablet form factor. So if you're using it for a prolonged period of time in one hand, it does get heavy and uncomfortable after a while. But nonetheless, it is still lighter than last year, so it is a much improved upgrade. The hinge is much improved this year as well. It finally closes flat. For whatever reason, the first 4 generation of the Fold, they went for a wedge-like design. So it never really folded completely in half. Then again, it never really bothered me either. Not like I'm staring at the hinge every time I close it or anything like that. But this year, due to the fact that it can close completely flat, I do notice that for whatever reason, folding bones picks up a lot of dust. It is not dust resistant, by the way. So that's why the new and improved hinge does help reduce some of the dust getting in, which I do like. Last but not least, the biggest change you're going to see from the Z Fold 4 down to the Z Fold 5 was the newest processor. You're getting the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is the best that Android has to offer in 2023. It's really all you can ask for, I guess. You're spending $1,800 for a phone. In this case, you're getting the best chip possible. Okay, back again. Had to mute the Google Maps and shout a long time at talk. People were instructing. Had to wait a few times for them to finish navigating, tell me where to go before I could finish my sentence. So I had to turn that off. I know where I'm going, but I'd like to have the GPS on just in case. It's just a gentle reminder, couple point traffic, etc. We have 2023 Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, you get a newest chip with this phone, so that is a benefit coming from the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Next best thing about having this phone is just literally enjoying the large display. It is really bright, it's fun for watching videos, for playing games. The speakers is also pretty loud. All that together makes a nice little package. If you're just standing around washing dishes, you can watch YouTube video or listen to a music video and enjoy the speakers and also the large video. Tired of the same boring form factor. Every single year, the newest iPhone and looks almost exactly as the previous year. You might get one new feature like Dynamic Island or something like that. Even all the Galaxy S series, I'm not really seeing that many change from year to year anymore. The chip has gotten so good. Everything is already up to date. Pretty much all the features you can ask for. So year to year, I'm tired of the same boring phone. Then the Fold will be a fun phone to try. We looked into something new that is fun and exciting. Maybe you want to experiment with the build block factor. The Fold 5 would be worth a shot. When the phone is folded up, it's really long and narrow. It's both a pro and a con. Narrow makes it easier to type with one hand. You could reach the other side pretty easily with just one thumb reaching across. So that part I do enjoy using. But I'll talk about the cons later on when I go into the things that I do not like about this phone. Next thing I do appreciate is just the 35-watt fast charging. It doesn't sound like much on paper. In fact, it's even lower than the S23 Ultra and the S23 Plus. For the most part, I get about 12 to 15 hours of battery life on this phone, and then I can just plug it in quickly to get the extra juice to make it through the rest of the day. I mean, it's nowhere as fast as the OnePlus and all the Chinese phones that's going 100 watt and faster. But the downside of charging your phone that fast is it is gonna degrade your battery quicker over time. So it depends how long you want to keep these phones, but you just pumping them out every year or two or a few months you get a new phone, it wouldn't matter. But you plan to use these phone for 2 years, 3 to 5 years, then you probably wouldn't want to do all the fast charging up to like 100 watt or anything like that. So it's just a little things to consider. And in order to preserve the battery in the long run, Samsung does have a setting where you can charge the phone up to 85% instead of 100. So that's a neat little feature to preserve the battery. At a 25 watt fast charging is actually enough for me to just plug it in, go grab a snack or do something briefly, brush my teeth, shower, and then I will get about 50% in half an hour or so. And that's more than enough to last me the rest of the day. But when I was using the Pixel Fold, I'm probably needing to choose Dex in order to achieve the same amount of battery. I know that's not the most scientific comparison, but just a gut wheel type of thing. I feel like the Tensor chip runs hotter in general, so it just takes longer to charge. With the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, it's pretty efficient for the most part, and that results in snappy performance and also fast charging for me. But one thing I like about Galaxy phones more than Pixel, they're debating between the Fold 5 or the Pixel Fold, is I just like the camera features on Samsung more. It's just much more flexible. It has directness mode where you can record the subject and also use the selfie camera at the same time. Hence, you're your own director. It's a pretty cool feature to have. It also has single take mode, which I do enjoy using when I'm on vacation. We can record a 10 to 15 second clip, and then it's gonna make a bunch of clips for you, a bunch of photos as well. You get some black and white photos, some dual effects, yet a little boomerang style TikTok short video type of thing. They even have music in you. So within that 10 to 15 second clip, they give you anywhere from 5 to 10 different options to choose from. You can actually use them all, but it's nice to be able to record all of that with just one press. Because if time when you're traveling, you see something cool, can't decide if you want to take a picture, do you want to record a video or send a Snapchat, and you're indecisive and can't decide which one to use, just use single take, record a 10-second clip, and then it will try to generate something cool for you. So it's just something fun to use. You don't have to think much about it. And I applied that. I do use single take a lot on all the Galaxy phones. Some people may find all these features gimmicky, but I actually find it to be useful since I do a lot of content creations like these. And I just like the flexibility. Whenever I'm recording a video, I can just switch the camera back and forth. So right now I'm using the selfie camera while driving, and if I wanted to, I can just press a button right here. So now you can actually see the view of me driving. So one of things like that with some nice simple tap, you have access to both cameras. But on the Pixel phone, you can't do that. If you want to use the main camera, you record on the main camera, then you did stop, and then you switch over to the selfie camera, and then you could use that. So not a lot of flexibility for a Google phone. But if you want something simple, but go for Google, you want all the cool features that you may or may not use. I personally use them, so I buy them to be useful, then get Samsung instead. Although one thing I do want to point out is even though you can switch the camera back and forth, but whenever you do use that, you have to give it a second or so. Remember to pause you talking. Because in the process of you switching the lens back and forth, the audio actually paused for a second. So if you're still talking, it's not going to record it. So it's just something I noticed that is present on Samsung for whatever reasons, but on a Motorola phone and also OnePlus phone, I can switch back and forth between both lenses, and the recording, at least audio-wise, will be continuous. But I don't know why Samsung does a little pause there. Not something I do that often, but occasionally I do notice it, especially when I'm walking around and I want to do vlogging style videos. I'm switching back and forth to the camera. Sometimes I forget to pause a little bit, so I do want to point that out for you guys. Another cool thing about having your phone is not that common these days. So you want to get a phone to flex your friends and coworkers. You want something that can catch people's attention. Just go into the office, sit down, open up your phone, and see what people ask you. And so that's another cool fact of owning a folding phone. And all the Apple friends and coworkers gonna envy you, but they would never get a folding phone until Apple make it. 5 to 10 years from now, they're probably going to do as the Apple way, claim to be the first to do it. Maybe they'll make a hinge bend both ways or something like that. Actually, that sounds pretty cool. So tell Apple to don't steal my idea. And then you might get multitasking in an Apple folding phone. But all jokes aside, I know it may seem like I'm anti-Apple in all my videos, but I do appreciate all the simplicity and how easy it is to use. My aunt loves iPhone, all her friends love it. I try to convert it to an Android phone, but this wasn't having it. Especially in the US, majority of people use an iPhone. You see more and more people switching over to iPhones every day, and I see why. The ecosystem is great. It is easy to use. You pretty much give it to a little kid or old lady, and they will be able to figure out how an iPhone works. For Android, can't always say the same. It's easy for me to use, but it's not easy for everybody else to use. And I'm recording this whole video in portrait mode because I'm driving. Don't really have a lot of time these days. I have a newborn kid, so I don't really have the time to sit, do a proper camera setup and mount everything, make it look nice. I still want to keep doing the daily lifestyle video and then wrap it up with final recap. So I'm just gonna record like this, and when you don't like the portrait mode, that might be. I do prefer horizontal mode, but sometimes gotta work with what you have. So do what you gotta do. Another thing I like about the Galaxy Z Fold 5 is you're gonna get the longest Android support. 4 years of software updates and 5 years of security updates. With the Google Pixel phone, you're only getting 3 years of software updates. So even though Google phone Android, Samsung actually supported more or supported longer. Another thing I enjoy about using Samsung phone in general is just the ability to have the Bixby routine. Whenever I get in the car, I just have the routine set automatically since it recognizes my car Bluetooth. So whenever my phone is connected to my Mazda 3, GPS automatically launches, my Wi-Fi turns off, because if I drive off and my Wi-Fi is connected and my music is going to get weird, it's going to momentarily disconnect before resuming again. So little things like that. I have the music volume cranked all the way up. I have notification muted so people are not spamming me while I'm driving. So all that happens at the moment I get in the car. And I do like that about Bixby routines. You can do the same thing for other products connected to it, or you can set it to a particular time. Google has a routine as well, but it is more tied to time for certain actions, like you leaving your house. So once your car, it detects that you are away from home, it can trigger certain action versus detecting a particular product connected, like Samsung. It's a small differentiator, but I think it makes a big difference. And I do prefer the Bixby routine more, just for the simple fact that it recognizes my card, it does everything for me, and I can't get it to work the same way on Pixel phones. The best thing about the Galaxy Z Fold 5 right now is it is more readily available worldwide. Unlike some of the Honor phone out there, apparently that one is super light and I really want to use it, but it's only available in China. It's gonna come to the UK soon. But for the US market, we gotta wait a little bit longer, or not sure that's ever gonna come here. So sometimes the best phones are the ones that are available. You can watch all the cool phones in China, all the crazy specs, the light phone, the 150 watt fast charging and all that stuff, but you can't buy it, and there's no use for me. I guess technically it can buy it unlock, but that again, you gotta deal with all the weird band issues. Depending on what carrier you have, it may or may not support it. The 5G bands, so little things like that, you want to have the full support. And in the US, you get Samsung and folding phones, and then you also get the Pixel. Other than that, not a lot of options available. Ready? I'm at my destination. Gonna pause this video for a second. Alrighty. Your seat belted in. As I sold on the caramel, and we're ready to drive back home. Another 24 minutes. You know, when I first started making this video, I was expecting to finish it in 10 minutes. I think we're already going to 20 minutes so far. But it's the final review, so we're gonna go in depth and try to hit on as many points as I can. I feel like every review video I do, by the time I finish it, there's always one random point that I forget. At least this one I try to be comprehensive. So right now I'm still using the split screen mode. I got my notes on top and I'm speaking with the camera recording at the bottom. I even have a floating window with the GPS at the top right hand corner. So you like multitasking? Usually I don't multitask like this, but this is actually a pretty useful situation where I'm actually recording this video. I'm launching 3 apps at once, so If you love multitasking, you can open up the screen and go crazy with it. You can launch 3 apps at once and maybe unlimited floating windows. I haven't tried it. It's not really a need for me, but I guess if I wanted to, that's certainly an option. The next thing I do like about the Galaxy Z Fold 5 is just the ability to use Dex. It may seem standard, but if you choose a Galaxy Z Flip 5, they do not have Dex on that phone for whatever reason. Even though it costs $1,000, with all these flipping phone and folding phone, you do see a lot of weird compromises like Dex being left off. And at least for the Z Fold 5, it doesn't have dust resistant, but it has water resistant. But all the flagship phone, it has dust and water resistant. So little things like that. You see Samsung cut corner for whatever reasons. Maybe it's just to keep the cost down. I'm pretty sure the folding screen is the majority of the cost. And in order to keep it at a reasonable price point, they have to cut corners here and there, which I don't really like. You're spending $1,800 for this phone. You're not getting the best camera. You're not getting the best battery. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself and jumping into the things I don't like about this phone. But just to reel it back a little bit, long story short, I do like the fact that you can use Samsung Dex, and I like to use the wireless Dex better because I can just use my laptop, which I have a triple monitor setup. So during work, I can just use my regular laptop, and then occasionally I'll have Dex up so I can just glance at my notification on my phone. So I don't have to reach for my phone every single time. I can just answer my text on there. I can use Snapchat on there, which is where all my friends are in the group chat. So that's pretty useful, and you don't have that with the Galaxy Z Flip 5. And also the Galaxy, and also the Pixel Fold, you don't have any desktop mode either. Motorola, you do have a desktop mode, but just want to throw it out there if that is something that is important to you and something you want to try out. Okay, now that we talk about all the positive things about this phone, let me go into all the things I do not like about this phone, which is just as much, if not more. So one thing I do not like about this phone is it is very challenging to use with one hand. As much as I love the tablet mode, but I don't really have a lot of time, or there's not a lot of situation where I can't use the tablet mode since I have a newborn. So the majority of the time I'm holding my baby with one arm, and that the easiest way for me to use my phone is just in the one-handed mode with the thin screen. And for typing, it is fine. I can reach the corners, but whenever I need to reach the top, which I find that I have to do pretty often, I know for the notification panel, you can swipe it out twice and access all the panels up there. But for the notification itself, you can access the bottom one just fine, but the middle-ish top one, you kind of have to tilt your phone a little bit in order to reach it. And then you gotta climb, let the pinky climb its way up. And in the process of tilting the phone, I find that it would occasionally slide up where I would almost drop the phone. So that happened to me a few times. Just because the fact that the phone is so heavy, it is slightly difficult to manage for one-handed use. And since it's so narrow and long, reaching the top is really challenging. And I do find myself reaching for the top pretty often. You're surfing the web, search bar is all the way up there. And this random stuff is always in the top corner where it is the most inconvenient to reach. You can use one-handed mode, but it's kind of awkward to activate it. I think you can like swipe it down or something to activate it. And even with one-handed mode, I still can't use everything without having to slightly tilt my phone a little bit. And even then, it just, I don't know, you gotta shrink it down, you gotta open it up. It's just very annoying. I don't really want to deal with that. So if you're on the go and using your phone in one-handed mode a lot, this phone is not the most convenient phone for that. But you have two hands available all the time and can enjoy the tablet mode, and that fits your lifestyle, then it will be a good fit for you, but it personally is not a good fit for me and my lifestyle. Everyone's life is different, so there's that. And another thing I don't like about the Galaxy Z Fold 5 is it doesn't have the best camera. I was rambling about this a few minutes ago, but the best camera actually belongs to the Galaxy S23 Ultra. I don't necessarily need the 100x zoom, but it would be nice at a bare minimum. I can do an ultra wide angle when recording videos. For whatever reason, Samsung elected to leave that off, thinking people don't need it, but I personally need it. Well, I personally prefer to have it because it has an ultra wide camera for taking photos, but for whatever reason, when recording videos, you can't do the ultra wide angle. So slightly annoyed by that. My Galaxy S20 has the wide angle camera when recording videos, but my $2,000 Galaxy Z Fold 5 after taxes, I don't have the wide angle camera. Another thing I don't like about the phone is it is still expensive. I know people were complaining in the comments about me saying the phone is too expensive. I still gotta keep complaining about it because at the end of the day, you're still paying $2,000 for it after all the taxes and everything, and you're still making compromises even after paying that much. So you're paying that much for a phone, I expect near perfection. And this phone is full of compromises between the camera, the battery, the black bars when you're using certain apps. Just a lot of things you gotta deal with, and I don't think it is fair or worth it to have to deal with all these compromises when you're paying so much for a phone. And price is a big factor in when selecting a phone. First, you got to come up with a budget, and then from there, you have to decide what features and options you want before buying a phone. And for what it is today, I still think there's a lot of room for improvements, like the crease. The phone could be lighter. There's so many things that could be improved upon to justify the $1,800 price tag. So I don't like that. With Motorola, even though it is for the flipping phone, they have their high-end one at $1,000, but they do have a budget variant that is coming later on in the year, hopefully between $600 and $800. At least that is a step in the right direction. I know there's got to be compromises that you have to make, but at the same time, I do like seeing that progress in bringing the price down. Samsung did do that with the Flip series, because initially it was released at about $1,100 to $1,200, and they managed to bring it down to $1,000. So the Z Fold 5 is still sitting at $1,800. Even if they bring it down to $1,700, at least it's a step in the right direction, and I would have been excited about that. But for now, there's not a lot of competition, so Samsung can pretty much price it at whatever they want. And unfortunately, it is at $1,800, and even the Pixel Fold is priced the same. So there's that. I still don't like the price. Long story short. Next thing I don't like is the under-display camera. It is inferior and the quality is terrible. In one of my daily videos of about what day it was, actually I'm recording using the selfie camera right now. So I scratched that. So right now I'm using the hole punch camera on the outer display, which is a much better camera than the under-display, the inside under-display camera. So they try to make it cool by making it somewhat hidden, but I think you're compromising a lot for the camera quality. I'd rather have the better camera quality and just have the hole punch camera. Honestly, I don't even notice the hole punch camera at all throughout my day, and I don't really care for the under display camera. If you can put a hole punch and give me the better camera instead, I would rather have that. But in one of the videos, I was recording in the middle of the night using the under display camera. It was absolutely terrible. And it's meant for video recording, for webcam, video chatting. In general, a lot of those don't have the best camera either, but it would have been nice to have a higher quality camera. You technically can use the main camera for video chatting, but at the same time, you lose more flexibility. So if you use the main camera and you spin your phone around, then you are forced to just stare at the lens directly. And if you do that, you can't really frame yourself. You can't see other people. You're just staring at the camera lens. So it really defeats the purpose of video and chatting. If you can only see the lens, you can't see yourself. You can't see other people. So the main camera gets awkward. I think the way to fix that is to add another preview screen underneath the camera, like the Galaxy Z Flip 5. But then that would mean having to add another screen. I'm all for that, by the way, but I know it's going to add more costs. And for whatever reason, people complain or get nervous about having more screen because they're afraid they're going to crack it or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're paying $2,000 for a phone. Do you want the most practical scenarios and want to be able to use all these features? With me right now, I can't use the main camera as a video chatting device because I can't see myself on it. so I don't really like that. It's just an awkward experience, especially you using Zoom. Same story, you can't really frame yourself, you can't see yourself or anybody else. The best thing I don't like about this phone is just the form factor. It's very awkward and weird. It's lighter than prior years, but just because of the fact that when it's folded up and I'm driving around, it doesn't fit in 3 of my other car mounts that I had. Every time I drive, it keeps falling off. But this new one that I bought, I talked about at the beginning of the video, it does fit. So you have a motor car and don't have Android Auto, you still have to rely on car mounts to be prepared to spend some extra cash to find a car mount that is actually going to fit this phone. A lot of car mounts are designed for the wider, standardized candy bar shaped phone, but these thinner phone, it gets awkward, so you have to play around with it until you find a car mount that works. I don't like the fact that the inner display is still shiny and dusty. It has a reflective screen protector on it, so if you're watching videos under direct light or the sun hitting at a certain angle, the crease is gonna pop out. Or not literally pop out, but you can see the crease. You see the shininess, you see the dustiness. The pulse hitch does help a little bit, but overall, it is still a dusty phone and it's not really pretty to look at. So I don't really like that for an $1,800 phone. It is relatively ugly, and whatever you stare at the crease. I know people may say your eyes adapt, but for me, I don't think it ever adapted. I can adapt to the notch, and I can adapt to dynamic island, but I can't adapt to this. I cannot adapt to this giant crease in the middle. It's still there. I finger occasionally grazed upon it. I see it throughout the day. So there's still definitely a lot of imperfection for a $2,000 phone. And surprisingly, even with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, this phone does overheat, or I still find a way to make it overheat. And I guess there was only that one particular day I was recording a video using the main camera for 12 minutes, and then it actually shut down in the middle of recording. And that is me using the main camera. So one, since I'm using the main camera and I'm staring at the lens, I don't even know when it stopped recording. So that's another downside. But now, actually, I've been recording for a long time. 24-minute drive to my destination, 24-minute back. I've basically been recording both ways for about 40 minutes. I'm see how much work I'm gonna do when I edit this video. Maybe I'm just gonna slap it all together and not do any crazy editing. It's gonna be a long, robust, full, honest review of the Galaxy Z Fold 5. So maybe I'll leave that off, but at least for overheating, it happened at one time when I was using my main camera and I didn't even know it overheated and stopped recording. So that's very annoying. I had to re-record everything. Well, at least for today, I was able to record a 20-minute clip, another 20-minute clip, and everything is faring just fine. But I do want to point out that one situation where it did act up for me. I know most noble people are not going to record 10 to 20 video clips. Maybe you might if you're bringing this phone on vacation. You want to have the most optimal experience, the best camera, and if it can't hold up, then it can't hold up. So I do want to point out the one situation where it did fail me. Last thing why you might not want to get this phone is if you're an Apple user, it doesn't fit into your Apple ecosystem. You're going to be the green bubble guy and not going to talk to all your devices. So you have an iPhone, you're thinking of switching, just be prepared for all the hiccups you might need to deal with along the way. And I can say that for both sides. If you're inside the Samsung ecosystem, you got all their refrigerators, smart appliances, you switch over to Apple, obviously you take one device away, it's not going to talk well with the ecosystem. But at least Samsung tried to be a little bit open and more friendly with more devices. Apple's all about having a closed ecosystem, try to keep you in. That makes it very challenging for you to switch. So that's another obstacle to consider if you're switching over to the Galaxy Z Fold 5. Alright, now for the final verdict. In terms of the Fold 5, whether it is worth it or not, it's really a personal decision. If you're looking for a premium phone that can fold and have a tablet in your pocket, having the full factor, you don't mind spending $2,000, then the Galaxy Z Fold 5 might be worth every single penny for you. You have a really cool device. But for most people, that is not the case. For me, whenever selecting a phone, I have value in mind. And just in terms of value, there's a lot of compromises in this phone that I don't really like and I hit on earlier. For me personally, I would rather just get the Galaxy Z Fold 4 If you go on Amazon right now and buy the redo version, you can get it for $900. So save that extra $1,000. If you don't mind getting a phone that is a little bit heavier, get a weirder hinge, a year-older chip, everything is fine. Motorola Razr Plus is selling a phone with a 1-year-old chip. Even Apple is doing it. So I think you get a better value that way. But there you guys have it. This is my full review of the Galaxy Z Fold 5. Let me know if you guys agree with all my pros and cons. If you disagree, just let me know why. Let me know if you find this video to be helpful or not. I will be testing out the Galaxy Z Flip 5 soon, and I really look forward to doing that. Please check out my other daily video series on this phone if you haven't already. My last video, I did 12 reasons why I like about the Galaxy Z Fold 5, so please be sure to check that out along with my other daily videos if you haven't already. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. I am starting to use my voice after talking for an hour. Appreciate the time as always, and see you guys in the next video.